Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. This is part 2 of the Ibfp's Q&A. And let's start off with Gervonta Tank Davis. I know this isn't added to the Q&A. This isn't a question per se. But these are a lot of questions that I keep getting off the comment section and social media in regards to the Tank Davis fight against Hugo Ruiz. And I just kind of wanted to address some of this hate. And, at the end of the day, to be honest and to be unbiased about things, you're going to get a lot of people that don't like the truth. And the truth is, regardless if Tank Davis and Abner Martis would have fight or not, the point is Tank Davis is fighting guys moving up in weight. The point is Tank Davis is not taking on the best and brightest in and around his weight class. There's so many great fights to be made. Berchelt, Lomachenko, just so many great fights to be made, and the fact that he's avoiding those fights. And you can have guys come out and say, well, it's his management, this or that. No one gives passes for these guys, because these guys are ultimately the one that's making the decisions, that's making the calls. So ultimately it's on Tank Davis to get the best fights done. He says Tevin Farmer's an easy fight for him. Well, go prove it and get the belt. At the end of the day, to be honest and unbiased, Tank Davis has to step up a level in competition. That doesn't mean I dislike Tank Davis. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's a very young and special talent. But if he's not fighting the best, if he's not attempting to fight the best and having bum bashes, you will not get praise from the IBFP for doing that. But it is what it is. And let's just dig right into it. Now, this is the first question here is from Al B. Yo, IBFP, can you hire some eye candy like Pheno Boxing did to go interview these fighters? I bet your subs will skyrocket. Seriously, though, I would like to see more content like that to add to your channels. Already excellent discussions. Thank you very much, Albie. I definitely appreciate that. I will tell you this. We will be going to the fights this year. We will be adding more and different content. We're going to add a debate panel so we can have, different perspectives, debate me and I can debate them, and we can have different, all different views expressed. And then after the debate panel, we'll look into getting a phone line so that you guys can call in and get your comments, read over the air exclusively. You guys can express how you feel to me and other people. We can have subscriber debates where you can, debate with other subscribers that you see in the comment sections, and this time just over the phone line. So we're working on a lot of different things. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when we get to it. But thank you very much, Albie. That's a fantastic question. Now this next question is from Johnny Granillo. Now, Johnny Granillo is one of our loyal subscribers. Always has excellent questions. His question is, what would it do for Mikey Garcia's career for a fight in Mexico with the Mexicans in Mexico, big market? I think for Mikey Garcia, that could even push him closer to a Canelo Alvarez level. You have to understand that Mikey Garcia is already huge here. He's growing. And depending on the outcome of this Errol Spence Jr. fight, if he can pull this off and win this fight, in which what I call a 50-50 fight, I think that this could take Mikey Garcia to the next level. And I think fighting in Mexico, especially for an established Mexican star, would only help his career at this point. I think it would be a fantastic thing and something that he really should consider doing. That's a fantastic question. The next question is from Sonia Dumas. Canelo fight Floyd at the age of 23 years. I would like to know who was the Charlo twins, Spence Jr., Mikey Garcia, Crawford, Danny Jacobs, and so on, who were there fighting at the age of 23 years, and who was there. Mayweather is Canelo in the league of his own. Now, to be honest and unbiased, Sonia, you raised a very good point. Now, as far as Danny Jacobs, Terrence Crawford, the Charlo twins, Floyd, all these guys, even Mikey Garcia, none of these guys were fighting that level of competition when they were 23 years old. You're 100% right. But just because you don't fight that level of competition at that point, you can work your way into it. And so, you can't deny the greatness of Terrence Crawford, Mikey Garcia, Danny Jacobs, Floyd Mayweather. These guys are elite level fighters. I have no doubt that all of these guys will be, Hall of Famers at some point. And so, yes, Canelo Alvarez is in a league of his own in some degrees, especially fighting the best early on in his career, taking up the big challenges and the big steps. But make no mistakes that all of these guys are really good fighters. The only guys that are still fighting the lower level competition, the guys that, haven't fought the best, are the Errol Spence Jr. and the Charlo twins. Terrence Crawford, Danny Jacobs, Floyd Mayweather are out there fighting top level, elite level competition. At least when Floyd was younger, he was. So at the end of the day, all of these guys are great fighters. The Charlo twins and Spence Jr., these guys are still unproven. But Terrence Crawford, Danny Jacobs, Mikey Garcia, Floyd Mayweather, no doubt about it, these guys are top level fighters. Thank you. The next question comes from Emilio Gomez. Thank you, Emilio. What you think about 7A Sports News? Now, this is one of them LDBC fangirls. If you guys would like a video exposing this guy, I'd absolutely do it. All you have to do is leave in the comments that, hey, please expose this LDBC fangirl. You know, she's biased. If you ask me to do it, I'll do it. I do these videos upon request. So when my subscribers ask me to expose these clowns, that's what I do. To give a quick thought on this guy, I'll just say that I just think that he's extremely biased. He follows a race-based narrative, and he's a PBC fanboy as well. You know, there's so many of these biased channels out there that these guys need to get exposed, because, you know, when you have a casual boxing fan that doesn't understand boxing, that just wants to see one or two fighters, and it's starting to grow and learn the sport, and when they come in and they go to YouTube and they look for good boxing content to listen to because they're excited about a fighter or a fight, and they listen to these type of clowns, and they realize that, hey, all of this stuff is just biased content. All of this stuff is just guys hating on other people, and it turns boxing into this ugly, nasty place. And that's not what we're about. We don't push narratives. We don't push race. We don't push an agenda. We don't fanboy for promoters. We give you the unfiltered and unbiased truth, and that's point blank, period. Great question. Next question comes from Aso Ocampo, Algeria. Hello, brother. What can you say to those guys who are saying that Mikey Garcia is using drugs to beat Errol Spence? Now, let's just focus on a few things. That's a fantastic question, though, brother. Let's focus on a few things. Mikey Garcia is a clean athlete, never failed a drugs test, never had any issues or suspicions. And just because he's working with Victor Conte, no one should even say things about using drugs in Mikey Garcia for the same, you know, because you have to look at it honestly in regards to it. Mikey Garcia is a clean fighter until proven otherwise, just like everyone else that has never failed a drugs test. You know, Danny Jacobs, is he a dirty fighter because he's with Snack? Is Sean Porter a dirty fighter because he's with Snack? You know, and I mean, let's just be honest. Is Demetrius Andre a dirty fighter because he's with Snack? No, these are guys who have upstanding reputations, who don't fail drug tests. You can't be mad if one guy with Snack fails a drug test and he's not taking Snack products. He's taking products outside of what he's told to take. That's on him. So you have to be honest and unbiased when you look at it. And when Errol Spence, you know, people could make similar accusations, and you see his fanboys come out of the woodwork. You know, they talk about his nipples are huge, and, you know, you hear all these fanboys make excuses for it. That is odd. But at the end of the day, I would never accuse Errol Spence Jr. of taking any substance that's not legal unless there's proven facts. Because I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, regardless of who you are, as long as there are facts. Now, I will tell you this. The reason for the excuses is that Mikey Garcia, these guys want to make excuses because when Mikey Garcia pulls off the upset and shocks the world and beats Errol Spence Jr. in a close, hard, rough fight, you know, I think a lot of people will be reaching for things as to why their hype job, their greatest hope lost. And I think that'll be it. Great question. The next question is from Antonio Hernandez. Do you think all the exposure Mikey is getting when he's in the gym training going to give Spence an advantage? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, Mikey Garcia isn't showing people in the gym his game plan. He isn't showing people his even true or top level workouts. He's showing them what he wants them to see. You know, at the end of the day, it's not going to change Spence's game plan or Mikey's. You know, we've seen this years and years on end from Floyd Mayweather training in the gym and just showing basic workouts, basic punching the bag. And not one time did it ever give away the game plan or what he was planning to do. Never helped his opponent. Floyd always came in with a similar style. Mikey Garcia has a different level of skills that he plans on showing off against Errol Spence Jr., and he's shown none of that in the gym as far as on tape. Every time these guys get ready to do anything specific on tape, he tells Ellie and Robert to make sure the cameras are off, because these guys have specific training that they're looking to do against certain types of guys and styles to fit Errol Spence Jr. So you have to be honest with yourself and everybody else that this is not going to affect anything with that fight. Great question, Antonio. I appreciate it, brother. The next question for JT, any tips for amateur boxers? Who's your top 3 favorite boxers right now? My only tip for amateur boxers is to stay focused and don't gain a bunch of weight in between fights. That is probably the worst thing you can do, because you have to constantly drain your body down. Stay in shape in between training camps. You know, you can put on a couple of pounds, but for the most part, still go for your runs, still eat, you know, responsibly, still stay off the drugs and alcohol, because, you know, you have to understand that as a boxer, all these things catch up to you, especially alcohol abuse. That's That's one of the biggest things that, softens up your midsection and makes it extremely difficult for you to, to reach high and elite levels. Favorite 3 boxers, I don't have any particular favorite boxers. I like all boxers. I love the sport of boxing, but I'd probably say my most entertaining fights that I like to watch are probably Mikey Garcia, Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, and Anthony Joshua. I'll say those are the 4 fighters that I probably enjoy watching. I love to enjoy watching Danny Jacobs. I love to enjoy watching Demetrius Andre. I love to watch Teofimo Lopez. I love to watch a lot of these guys. These guys are really entertaining. They're really special fighters, and I just love the sport of boxing. Thank you very much. Now, the next question, and now this one is going to be from, P.O. Lee. If prime Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo fought at 158 pounds, who do you have? I think that would be a fantastic matchup. Oscar De La Hoya also fought small to some degree because he wanted to come in and, put in real work on his opponent. But I think that Canelo Alvarez is just so special. I just don't think that I could pick anybody over him in his prime at this point, especially even Oscar De La Hoya. Even though Oscar De La Hoya is a very special fighter and could attempt to outwork Canelo just has so many tricks in the bag, so many things he can do. He's really a once-in-a-generation type fighter. Thank you. And the next one P.L. Lee has is, how come sons of famous boxers never amass anywhere near the skill level of their dads? Now, my assumption in this is, that's not always true. I mean, look at Floyd Mayweather Sr. and Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. really just blew out the water his father on as far as his skill level and how great of a fighter he is, because he took the game serious. He was hungry to do more, and he wasn't a wealthy kid coming up. He was still poor, still had a lot to prove. Now, when you look at a lot of guys come out here, and these guys come out and they just can't reach the, Chavez Jr., they just can't reach these levels, is because these guys are, very wealthy. They grew up spoiled to a bit. These guys don't feel like they have to work as hard. Their hunger isn't as deep. And so it's not that they don't have the physical abilities, gifts, or understanding of the game. It's just the willpower and determination. It's probably not there as it would be a hungrier fighter who doesn't have as much to gain. Great question. Barker Ryder asks, what are your thoughts on a fight between Beterbiev and Kovalev, and who do you think would come out with the win? I think that would be an excellent fight, and I have to be honest and unbiased when I break that down. I think that it's a close fight. I'll say a 60-40 fight, but in favor of Beterbiev. I think that Kovalev is still an excellent fighter. I think that Kovalev could beat Beterbiev if Kovalev focuses more on boxing rather than trying to get a knockout like he did against Eliter Alvarez. He focused more on his boxing. But the problem with that is Eliter Alvarez did land some solid shots on Kovalev. And so it would make me wonder, with a guy who's pretty much knocked out everyone he's fought, a guy who has elite level power, a guy who's, ascending in the career and not descending. You look at a Beterbiev, you see he's a real problem for anyone he faces in that division, and he's going to be held to stop because he has knockout power in both hands. Great comment. Thank you very much. The next one is K1DD Top Skull. Can you break down the pay-per-view numbers and fight viewership so we can get an idea of people viewing the fights? Yes, I'll do a video explaining all of this in depth, but to give you a shorter synopsis in all of this, when you look at like the Wilder Fury pay-per-view, 10 million people illegally streamed it, about 375,000 buys on that. That's really a domestic fail. And when you look at boxing as a whole, you hear a lot of people and say, oh, pay-per-view isn't dead. You only have 375,000 people, and so their entire purse that they've made and that they've garnered, between Fury and Wilder, still didn't make what Anthony Joshua, just on his own purse, made in his last fight against Alexander Povetkin. That wasn't the totality of his fight, because the totality of Anthony Joshua fight still made way more. He still did over 1.1 million buys. But the point is that this is why these guys don't deserve 50-50, because they're nowhere near the level of AJ when it comes to buys, money, and being the A side in any of these fights. But yes, we will definitely do a video more in depth on this to give you guys more information. Great question. Now, the next question is from Daniel B. Thank you, Daniel. If Tank moves up to 135 and fights Javier Fortuna, how do you see that playing out? I think that Tank can still beat Javier Fortuna. I think Javier Fortuna is a very good and entertaining fighter, but he gets hit too much. He gets caught in these skirmishes. He's easily able to hit. And, with a guy with power, Tank would give him too much problem. Javier Fortuna doesn't have any elite level boxing skills. He's a very entertaining and crafty boxer and a scrappy boxer, but that's not going to be enough against a guy who's that strong. I want to see Tank Davis against the guys with the top level skill sets, like the Burchelts, like the Tevin Farmers, like the Lomachinkos. I want to see Tank in there with these type of guys, the Santa Cruzes. I want to see him in there with challenges of guys who sit at the top. These are the type of fights that I think will make Tank into a real star. And if Tank can get the victory over these guys, then he can really be truly considered a special. If he's not getting these victories, if he's not blowing through these guys, then it exposes exactly where he really is. So we don't know much about Tank as like people like to say they do, because Tank has yet to prove it. Great question. The next question is from Daniel B. Do you see Jose Benavidez coming back stronger and being a threat to the welterweights, or did Crawford ruin him? And I'm going to be honest and unbiased about Jose Benavidez. I think he's a special fighter. I don't think Crawford ruined him. I think Crawford just beat him. I think Jose Benavidez can give any welterweight hell in a hard fight. I think Jose Benavidez give Errol Spence Jr. a hard fight. Jose Benavidez is a long, tall, rangy counterpuncher who hits very hard and who's going to be a threat to anyone. I mean, I think he would give Errol Spence hell. I think he'd give Sean Porter hell. I think he'll give Danny Garcia hell. And I think that he possibly beats Keith Thurman, especially right now. I think that Jose Benavidez isn't given enough credit, and they blow past him because he doesn't have the top elite level names on his resume. He put up a great fight against Terrence Crawford, but even then, Terrence Crawford won the vast majority of those rounds, had no answer for Terrence Crawford. But you have to understand that Terrence Crawford has skills that none of these fighters at welterweight have. So you can't expect Jose Benavidez to perform like that against those guys when these guys don't have the same skill set that Terrence Crawford has. He would be much more entertaining against any of these other fighters in the division. I truly believe that. The next question is from PLE. Do you see any visible flaws for Canelo? I think Canelo Alvarez is an elite level fighter. He doesn't have huge obvious flaws that'll be like, man, he has to work on this to get better. I think the only thing with Canelo Alvarez that he needs to work on is taking breaks and taking rounds off. I think that would probably be one of the biggest flaws that I see, that Canelo gets content in winning rounds and he'll get on a string of consecutive good rounds, and then he'll take a round off, maybe to rest, maybe to relax, not to throw a lot of shots. And I think that at that point, that is something that he has to work on. His conditioning has held up and looked to be great in his last fight against Triple G. But I just think that still taking rounds off could be a problem, especially when you're fighting elite fighter after elite fighter. It's a great question. Gerardo Vargas, do you think Canelo will unify, and will he retire as undefeated? Now, I remember I tried to say this to a lot of people, and I said Canelo could retire undefeated, and people say, well, he's already taken a loss. And that's not what I mean. I mean, ever since, he stepped up since the Floyd fight, he can retire undefeated since that point. And I truly believe that it's a possibility, but it's also a possibility he could take a loss and could avenge that loss. Because you have to understand, when you're facing elite level competition, fight after fight after fight, that's a very difficult and demanding schedule for any fighter, because I don't see any fighter taking on the best competition fight after fight after fight, but Canelo Alvarez and possibly even Anthony Joshua, trying to take on the best fighters, trying to get the biggest and best fights. So I have to give him that. I will say this. I think Canelo Alvarez will unify the middleweight division, and I think it's a 50-50 chance that he could go undefeated from this point on out in his career. I think that Canelo Alvarez has the potential to beat everyone in front of him, but it's going to be a very difficult and hard road. But I think that he has the ability and skill set to do it. Yes. Billy Robles. Pernell Whitaker versus the top welterweights now. Who would win? Excellent. Pernell was one of the best to ever do it, skill-wise. I think that Pernell Whitaker could probably beat every welterweight right now except for Terrence Crawford. I think that Terrence Crawford has such a varied skill set that him and Pernell Whitaker would break down into almost a 50-50 fight. I think that would be the best fight, but everyone else I think Pernell can take. The next question is from, that's a great question, Billy. The next question is from Justin Valdespino. Who had the best chin ever? I would say Chavulo. I don't know. At this point, it's hard because you have to rank the level of competition, the guys taking the biggest shots, and the guy's skill set. So that's a very difficult question. If anyone has an answer to this, put that in the comment section. That is probably the one question that I'm a little stumped on. I seen guys with great chins, years and years, but it's going to be very hard to say who has the greatest of all time. That's a very tough question to answer. So if you guys have an answer for that, put that in the comment section. I would love to see it. The next question is a KD11 Top Skull. Keep up the good work. Love the channel. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. This is part 2 of the Q&A with the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.